Lesson 1 of the GCH Guitar Academy First Steps Guitar course. How to play your very first chords. This lesson is part of a structured guitar course. So if you've just discovered this course, it would be well worth you going through the first few lessons. So you can do this, I've put a link down below in the description to a playlist of all the lessons in order. Also, you can download the PDF eBook that accompanies this course, completely free, at www.ebooksforguitar.com. The first few lessons in this course were introductory lessons, so you didn't need a guitar. However, now we're getting on to the actual guitar playing lessons. So if you've got a guitar, have it to hand so you can try the different exercises along with the video. And if you try playing the exercises along with the lesson, you'll be able to hear if you're doing something wrong, because theoretically you should sound more or less the same as I do when I play the exercises. Before we start playing the chords, I'll just explain how the chord names work so you can follow along more easily. Chord names explained. Here we've got 5 chords, and the first 4 chords we'll be playing quite regularly during this course. And I've added the 5th chord because you may come across that one quite early, so it's easier for me to explain it now than later. And we're not looking at any theory at this point, just the simple naming of the chords. So, looking at this list from left to right, the first chord there is an A. However, its full name would be A major. So whenever you see a letter on its own, you'll know that it's referring to the major chord. Next to that one is the AM. This stands for A minor. And the same applies. Any note name and then M after it, it's a minor chord. The next chord on is the A7th. And A7th is actually an abbreviation of its full name, which is the A dominant 7th. However, most guitarists just call 7th chords A7th, B7th, C7th, etc. But it's worth me pointing out, on very rare occasions, you'll find the 7th chord named Dom 7th. So for example, the A7th you'll find called A Dom 7th. But most guitarists, most of the time, just call the dominant 7th the 7th chord. The next chord on is the AM 7th, which is the A minor 7th. And that's it. There's nothing hidden there. There's no dominant or anything in the background. It's just A minor 7th. And the last chord in this list is the A major 7th, which is A with the maj and the 7. And this is different from both the dominant 7th and the minor 7th. And it's always written with a maj, so the M on its own is always minor. From now on, in this course and in your own learning, you'll come across these chord names all the time. So there's no need to try and memorize them, because you'll hear them so often they'll soon become crystal clear to you. Right, before we move on to the exercises, let's try our very first, very easiest chord. And you might have tried this chord in the lesson How to Read Chord Charts and Scale Charts. But never mind. The chord we're going to try will be an E minor 7th. And to play this chord, you only need to place one finger on the guitar. To play the E minor 7th, place the first finger on the 2nd fret of the A string or the second thickest string. Let's see that being done. Place the first finger on the second fret of the A string. Now for this chord, I want you to try strumming the strings through slowly so you can hear each string. If you have any dead strings, take a good look at the guitar and see if you can work out what's going on. But here's some reasons you might have a dead string. If the dead string is the fretted string, then you may need to press a little harder. If the dead string is next to the fretted string, then you may be overlapping onto the strings on either side, in which case you need to try and bring your thumb round so your finger goes more onto its tip, making sure you don't touch either of the surrounding strings. If the dead string is the top E string, the thinnest string, then make sure the side of your finger isn't killing it. And if it is, just move your finger round slightly onto its tip, or move your thumb down to prevent the side of the finger from touching the top E string. Once you think the chord is right, you can try strumming the chord rather than going through the strings. Also, you can try taking the chord off and putting it back on again, just a couple of times so you get used to it. Hopefully, now you've got a good idea what to look for if your chords aren't clean. So let's move on to a slightly harder chord, the C major chord. How to play the C major chord. This chord is a little harder to play than the E minor 7th, but to make it easier to follow, I'll use the string numbers this time, where string 1 is the top E string, the thinnest string, and string 6 is the bottom E string, the thickest string. So, to play a C major, we put the first finger in the first fret of the second string, then we put the second finger in the second fret of the fourth string, and finally we put the third finger in the third fret of the fifth string. It's important to note that there's an X on the end of the sixth string, which means when you play this chord, you don't play the bottom E string. Let's see that being done. Place the first finger in the first fret of the second string. Place the second finger in the second fret of the fourth string, and place the third finger in the third fret of the fifth string. Now, when you strum it, ignore the bottom E string. Let's see that being done again. Place the first finger in the first fret of the second string. Place the second finger in the second fret of the fourth string, and place the third finger in the third fret of the fifth string, and strum it without playing the bottom E string. You might find it worthwhile to pause the video here and practice playing that chord a few times before moving on. Exercise 1. Moving between C major and A minor. We'll learn a new chord now, the A minor, but we won't start it from scratch. We'll learn it by playing the C major first and then moving to the A minor. To do this then, we'll play a C major as we've already done, but then move the third finger from the 3rd fret of the 5th string to the 2nd fret on the 3rd string, and the other 2 fingers stay in place. And with the A minor, we don't play the bottom E string in the same way we did with the C major. Right, let's see that being done, starting with the C major. Place the first finger in the 1st fret of the 2nd string. Place the 2nd finger in the 2nd fret of the 4th string, and place the 3rd finger in the 3rd fret of the 5th string. Now strum the C major without strumming the bottom E string. To get the A minor, you simply move the 3rd finger to the 2nd fret on the 3rd string, and you try not to move the other fingers out of place, though you might have to shuffle them round a bit to make everything fit properly. Then you strum the A minor chord without playing the bottom E again. Now we can reverse this process by lifting the 3rd finger up and placing it back on the 3rd fret of the 5th string, and then strum the chord again. I'm going to play the C major to the A minor 4 times, so you can practice going between the 2 chords. But I'm going to introduce a metronome beat now. The metronome beat is 4/4 time, which means there's 4 beats. And the first beat will have a slight accent on it, so it sounds like this. Here that is again, but with me counting on top of the metronome beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. With all the tunes and exercises in this course, I'll give you a 2-bar introduction so you can get ready to play your guitar. So that would be 2 lots of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. Play. Here's the exercise, playing C to A minor 4 times with a 2-bar introduction. Here that is again, with the 2-bar introduction, in case you want to try and play along with me. If it's too soon for you to play along, don't worry about it. You can always come back to the video again in the future. And I'll put some metronome beats at the end of the video for you to practice along with. I'll do that exercise one more time before we move on to the next exercise. So here it is again with a 2-bar introduction. Exercise 2. Moving between the C major and the G7th. This is another chord that will start from the C major position, but this time we have to move all 3 fingers. Hopefully though, you can see the similarities in the shape of the C major and the G7th. But we have to move the first finger from the 1st fret of the 2nd string to the 1st fret of the 1st string, and whilst maintaining the shape, move the 2nd and 3rd fingers from the 2nd and 3rd fret on the 4th and 5th string to the 2nd and 3rd fret on the 5th and 6th string. Let's make this clearer and easier to understand by watching it being done. Firstly, we'll make the C shape, which hopefully you can do without me explaining every string, but I'll do it quickly anyway. Place the 1st finger on the 1st fret of the 2nd string, then place the 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, then finally place the 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the 5th string. Now you can strum the chord without playing the bottom E string. Now to morph this into a G7, we simply move the 1st finger from the 2nd string to the 1st string, and move the 2nd and 3rd finger, maintaining the shape, from the 5th string to the 6th string. Now that's your G7. You can strum this now, playing all the strings, because there's no cross on this chord anywhere. Initially, don't worry if you can't keep the shape of the 2nd and 3rd finger. Just move the fingers over one at a time. This will become more natural as you play it. However, when you first try it, you might find it difficult. This chord also is a bit of a stretch, so if you find you're having trouble with it, make sure your thumb is not going around the guitar. Bring it down towards the floor, and this allows your fingers to move apart more freely. Now, don't worry if it feels unnatural or uncomfortable when you've moved the thumb around. This is quite normal, but with practice, it'll feel more and more natural. The point of this exercise, just like the previous exercise where we're going between the C and the A minor, is to go between the chords. So you're just not trying to play the G7. You want to practice playing the C, then playing the G7th, then going back to the C, then going back to the G7th. I would recommend you practice this first without a metronome. Just pause the video. But when you think you can follow, try playing along with me and the metronome, or just with the metronome. With this exercise, we go from C to G7 4 times. Here it is being done with a 2-bar introduction. Here that is again with the 2-bar introduction in case you want to try and play along. how to keep time with the metronome or with a backing track. The first reason you might be finding you can't keep up with the metronome beats is that you just need to practice the chord changes a little longer without a metronome beat. If this is you, don't be worried, this is perfectly normal. Most people I teach have to practice the chord changes for a while before they can even attempt to bring it together with the metronome beats. The second reason you might not be able to keep up with the metronome beats is that you're changing the chord too late. When you first start playing with backing tracks or a metronome, you might have to sacrifice some of the quality or sound in order to get the chord changes in time. And what I mean by this is you have to release the chord you're playing before the guitar stops ringing in order to prepare for the next chord to make sure you get it there in time. You can reduce the pause or the gap between the chords as you improve. Another reason you might be having difficulty with the backing track or metronome is that it's just too fast for you. And if this is the case, just start with a slower backing track or metronome and then speed it up over time. If you fall behind when trying to play along with a backing track or trying to play along with me, the best practice is to stop playing and then coming on the next possible bar. Otherwise, it becomes a knock-on effect and you end up late for every chord rather than just missing one. A really important thing when you're learning to play the guitar and to speed up your chord changes is don't blame yourself or think you can't play the guitar. This is a slow process and you can't learn to play the guitar overnight. Exercise 3. Bringing together the C major, A minor and G7th. This exercise shouldn't take any explanation because we're just taking the two previous exercises and bringing them together. So we play the C to the A minor to the C to the A minor, then back to the C to the G7 to the C to the A minor. So it's just the three chords we've learnt in this video. Here that is being played with a 2-bar introduction. Here that is again at the same speed with a 2-bar introduction. Try and play along if you think you're ready. And here that is one last time, just a little bit faster in case you're feeling adventurous. If you're struggling to keep up with the metronome beat, or if your chord changes are still a bit slow, continue to practice them for a bit and try and speed them up a bit. To help you with this, I've put some metronome beats at the end of this video at 2 different speeds, so you can practice along with them if you want to. But if you're happy with your chord changes, you can move on to the next lesson, where we take 2 of these chords to make a complete song. If you're new to this channel or these lessons and would like to be notified when I upload new videos, please like, subscribe and hit the bell icon. This also helps to support the channel. And if you'd like the free PDF ebook of this course, go to www.ebooks4guitar.com, and as I said, it's completely free. Thank you very much for watching.